Hi, my name is Triladi Ademisoye. I'm a machine learning engineer. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build your own chatbot using open source large language models. All right, so I'm going to be making use of some tools and some stacks like huggingface Model Hub, where I'm going to be using the Blenderbot. I'll show you the Blenderbot in a bit. I'll also be using transformers, which is a brain box for our large language model. And I'm going to be using Python, which is a language for this development. All right. So just take a look at the Blenderbot. OrganFace basically have a variety of models available on their platforms that you can interact with. For this tutorial, I'm going to be walking you through the Blenderbot from Facebook AI. You can check out some documentations from this at your leisure time. All right. Okay, so let me just give you an introduction. All right, one of the very critical things that you want to be very sure of is you want to have an idea of why and how exactly you want to use your chatbot for, because you have a variety of models out there and you need to know which one exactly um, is going to be needed for your use case. All right, so I'm going to be walking you through very briefly. All right, so Transformers basically is a brain box of your LLM or your chatbots, in the sense that Transformers helps you to take the user data or the prompt data, into the model in a language that it can understand. All right, and it breaks it down in bits, in tokens. Tokens are bits. For example, you can have a word like, for example, you can have something like hello, hi, Solulade, for example. The beauty of transformers or the beauty of tokens is that these words get broken down in bits in the format that the computer can understand, and it sends us back the information in the format that we, the user, can understand. All right. Okay. So as you can see, I wouldn't want to take too much time, so I've already installed this already. This is the requirement that's pip install transformers, and you can see I have an exclamation mark due to the fact that I'm running this on Google Colab, which is like a Linux environment. So the next thing I want to do is I want to install I want to import from my transformers. That's import the auto tokenizer, and as well as the model for that's a sequence to sequence LM. I want to make sure I import these two dependency, which is very critical for us. And the model name, like we talked about already, we're using Blenderbot. If you check out some documentations from here, you get to see some of they have some documentations here, so you can play around the site. I don't think I want to go into that right now. All right, so you have some documentations here regarding the model and all of that. All right, so let me go back here to my notebook. Okay, so the model name is the Blenderbot. Um, then the next thing I want to do is I want to be able to fetch and initialize a model. And one very interesting thing about this tutorial is the fact that I'm doing this in a different way from the IBM Skills Network. They did theirs in a different way. So I'm showing you a different way. I'm deploying mine to Google Colab, so you can see the difference. All right, so let's just proceed. So the next thing we're doing is we want to fetch and initialize the model tokenizer. As you can see, we have this instance already. That's a model. And don't forget that we're able to import them. We imported this dependency for our model as well as the tokenizer, right? As you can see, the auto tokenizer from the pre-trained model. All right. So as you can see this already, these two are very critical. They are very critical. They're very critical instance for what we're going to be doing in this project. All right. And don't forget also that the tokenizers helps us to break the word into bits, into a format that our chatbots, that the model can understand. Okay. So the next thing is the chatbot process. We want to be able to encode the conversation history as a string. I'll show you that in a bit. We want to be able to fetch prompt from the user. For example, user can see the prompts can be be my assistant, or a prompt can be I am going to school or something like that. That could be a prompt from the user. And the next thing is that we want to be able to tokenize it. We tokenize it. We also optimize it. And by tokenization, we're breaking it down in bits. And also we're doing what we call vectorization, which is more like taking into numbers, because the computer will not understand the text per se. We have to convert them into numbers, right? Right. The next thing is that we need to generate outputs from our model using the prompt and history, and the code outputs on updates conversational history. So let's just move on. All right, so this is just a breakdown of the process, the whole process for developing our chatbots. Yeah, but let's move on to the dev stage. All right, cool. So now if you look at this critical thing, now what's very critical is the fact that for our chatbot to work, we need a large language model. That's one, and we have established that we're using the Blenderbot. Secondly, we need to be able to deploy it on a backend server, and this time around we're going to be using Flask. Flask is basically a framework on Python, which is very cool. Also, we need to later on you can decide to say, I want to deploy this I want to deploy this into a front-end application for users to interact with. So that's another stage. And also, I want to make it available online, for people to access it anywhere in the world. So that's like cloud hosting. So that's another stage on its own. So I'm going to be installing pip install Flask ngrok. Now, the reason why I'm using ngrok for this particular project is because I'm running this on Google Colab. All right. You don't necessarily need to run this if you're running this on PyCharm or VS Code. You just need to move straight away into installing Flask, cause and other dependencies. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to set up my ngrok because I'm using I want to be able to be able to communicate my Google Colab to the internet so that my application is visible, right? So I'm going to install this. All right. Then the next thing is I'm going to extract the downloaded file using the following command. As you can see, so this is just a pretty steps or pretty straightforward steps. The next thing is I want to get my token. So you go to ngrok.com, create an account. You can get your token from your profile, and also here I've removed my token here because if your token is supposed to be a secret key, you don't want to make that publicly available. All right. So the next thing is I'm going to want to. So right now I have my app already running already. Okay. So I'm going to want to, for my Flask, I'm going to want to import Flask, import request, import render template, although we're not necessarily going to be using the render template per se. I'm going to be importing course, importing JSON, importing transformers. So I think I already explained this already in my earlier steps. Now, because I'm using ngrok, since I'm using Google Colab, um, so I have to import this as well. I say from Flask ngrok import run with ngrok. So that's because I'm doing this on my Google Colab. All right. So that's very critical. So I'm going to initialize my Flask application. I'm going to run with ngrok as well. I'm also going to use course. All right. Okay, for this. So all right, now the next thing I'm going to define my variable. Excuse me. I'm going to define my variable for my model, and I'm also going to um, have these two class and instance for my model. This is my tokenizer. Then don't forget that we want to be able to pass what do you call it? We want to be able to pass our conversations in a list, right? We want to be able to save it, pass it, so we can be able to refer to it back as a form of memory. So the first thing first is after we've done all of this, we're going to make a root, and we're going to call it a chatbot, so that we can be able to access the chatbots, the endpoint. All right, and obviously the method is going to be post because we're going to be posting to it. So we're going to define a function called handle prompt, and from here we're going to define these two variables. First of all, we need to get the data as text, which is true. Then the JSON, we're going to load the JSON data and still pass it as data again. Yeah, so now what's very critical here is the fact that this is where I define my prompt, my user input prompt. So this is where the user asks the question, or the user sends a message into the large language model. So the transformer for the model to be able to reply based on what is trained with already. All right. Okay. So the next thing is I want to be able to join my conversations. If I have series of conversations before, probably I've been chatting with my bot before, I have series of conversations. I want to be able to merge them together. All right. Okay, cool. Um, all right. So the next thing I want to be able to do is to combine both. I want to combine my history. For example, you want your bot to be able to remember some things you've told it before, or some questions you've asked it before with the new ones. So you want to combine the history, which is this one, the history string, okay, and the new input text. All right. So the next thing is we are going to get our output. We're going to get our output. So when a user when the user sends a new input text, we're also referencing the previous history text as a string. It takes it down to the transformer, breaks it down in a format that our LLM, our model can understand, and also sends it back to us in a format that we, the user, can understand. So here I'm just limiting my output, max length of 60. It's not necessary I put this here, but sometimes you want to limit depending on what you have in terms of resources available, uh, your machine. All right. So the next thing I want to do here is I want to so this is where I define my response, right? As you can see, if you take this down from here, I'm going to be appending the input text and sending a response. So you want to be able to you want your conversation to be able to have what you call the history, that's the input text, and also send for the response. All right. Then this is where you close your app. So for here, you can see that by default the port name is 5000 for this, which is okay. All right, so I'm running this server already, so I didn't stop it. So when you run this, you're gonna have you're gonna have a series of these from step to step. And when you click on this, it's going to, so when you click on this ngrok, you are most likely gonna see not found. Don't be scared. You are on track. Don't forget, let's come back here. You see something. So let's look at our endpoint, which is chatbot. So I'm going to come here and type chatbot and press enter. Yeah, so when I see this, that's okay. That's method not allowed because I'm trying to make a get. Meanwhile, I need to make a post. There are different methods, so that's very okay. So that's very okay. So now there are different ways in which you can test your chatbot. For example, you can use the call, but I'm going to be using the postman. So let's just take a look. Let's now say hello. I'm gonna say what's your favorite or let's start with an introduction. Hello, I am Tony from Lagos. Okay, I'm gonna want to send this. So we're trying to communicate with the server, with the model. So we're just gonna wait. So this is basically a test environment. This is not a production environment. All right, so it says, hi Tony, my favorite dish is chicken. Now, the reason why it's giving this kind of response is because I've been relating with the model already, in terms of meals and dishes and food. So that's the reason why it's giving me this kind of response, right? So yeah, all right, okay, okay. It says I am Tony from Lagos. Okay, so I'm gonna ask it. Let's ask a model. Um, What's your favorite? What's your favorite meal? So I'm gonna put this and let's run this. Okay, so it says that we've run into an error, which we need to come back here and check and see, do we have an error here? So what you can see that, so you're gonna want to stop this. Okay, let's stop this server. We're going to run this again. So you're just gonna wait a while, which is okay. All right, all right, all right. So this is where we're running at. So I just want to confirm if we're up again. Okay, I'll confirm this again. Let me check my chatbots just to confirm if the endpoints are fine. Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right, so I'm gonna run this again. All right, so this should load up. Let's just hold on a second. All right, so it says I don't really have a favorite meal, but my favorite meal would have to be pizza. Voila, as you can see. So it's very critical. It's very critical. You define you define or you establish the purpose of what you want your chatbot to do for you. So, for example, if you're using a large language model uh, with a different kind of data set from what you intend to do, you're going to have a little bit of problems, right? Because basically the chatbot will only give you what the model has been trained upon, the data has been trained upon. So it's very critical you establish the purpose first of all before you move into deployment. So this is basically how you can um, work on a Blenderbot on huggingface, open source chatbots. This is basically how you can go about it on your Google Colab. All right, so I look forward to you trying this on your IDEs, using this in a different approach and tagging me across social media. All right, thank you, and have a nice day.